Hi, I'm Art Giser. Welcome to Business Story of the Week.
Welcome to Business Story of the Week. Is Shaheen Shan with my co-host here, Nathaniel.
Hello.
And we are wearing one of the show's sponsors today, Luminere Sleep Doctor glasses. As you can see, Nathaniel always looks stylish, but today he is looking a little bit extra stylish.
Well, thank you. These things are phenomenal. I don't want to take them off.
I know they're really good actually in this type of a studio setting. So I think Nate was asking me, hey, like, what exactly do they do? I feel calmer. And what these actually do is every day we are exposed to all types of lights. So as Dave Asprey often says, we have junk food and we have junk light. And blue blocking glasses, what they will actually do if they have the correct lens, it's like a formulation like anything else. If it's the correct formulation, it'll take out that blue light. And that blue light makes your brain think, hey, it's nighttime, not daytime, and helps you sleep better. So how do they feel outside of looking great, Nathaniel?
They feel great. Like I put them on and I literally, I'm very particular about glasses and the colors and the ways things feel in my eyes, but these feel amazing. I don't want to take them off. I mean, literally they feel great. They feel amazing. I feel my eyes just feel more comfortable even just looking around right now, even with all these wild lights and things.
Yeah, and you don't look like a dork when you're wearing them. That's kind of important. Like you don't want to look like
Yeah, usually these kinds of helpful glasses
Right.
look horrible.
like Granny just took it out of her 1985 Ford Bronco, right? And
Exactly.
is about to put over her glasses. Although we do have fit over. So anybody that's interested, go to sleepdoctorglasses.com. Again, that's sleepdoctorglasses.com. Or on Amazon, you can look up Luminere glasses, Luminere blue light blocking sleep doctor glasses, and take a look. Any guests of the show, you can get 5% off. Just reach out to us at any time for that code. So how much do you know about hypnosis, Nathaniel?
Um, Not a lot. Just what I've seen on TV.
Have you ever tried it?
No.
Okay. So I'm a huge fan of hypnosis. And years ago, I learned about this modality called NLP or neuro linguistic programming.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was sort of discovered by a couple guys that have an absolutely insane story. One of them actually ended up having a reality show, and I'm sure our guest today will tell us about that.
Mhm.
But one of the interesting things is leaders like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, all of these great people who we watch in the personal development and self-help world have some background in using this type of almost like I guess it's like a type of self-hypnosis called neuro-linguistic programming. And so I wanted to have on the show today a guest that is one of the leading experts in his field and one of the innovators in something he calls energetic NLP.
Mm. I'm really interested because a lot of I always hear people talking about, oh, I want to learn this. It's really interesting, especially my friends and who own businesses or are big leaders in their fields. They all want to learn about this, and I I've always heard about it, but I've never quite really even understood what it is. So this is really cool.
We're
I'm
gonna
really
dive
excited.
deep.
Yeah.
We're gonna dive deep into energetic NLP. So the gentleman we have now has over 20 years, maybe over 30 years. I don't know. Maybe I'm misspeaking, but I've seen videos of him talking to business leaders, to coaches, to people just starting off in all areas of life and business on how this implementation of an offshoot of hypnosis can be used every day.
Wow.
Art is our guest, Art Giser,
Mhm.
and his unique approach blends practical neurolinguistic programming techniques and transformative energy practices. Really, what it is he's teaching people how to have a new kind of superpower, and I'm very excited to have him on. Art, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. And one of the things, if I can do a little aside, that we're really big on in Energetic NLP is having more synchronicities in our lives. So a couple of days ago, I was thinking, I really should get some blue blocker glasses. So it's like, well, it took 2 days, but that was pretty good service. So I'll be ordering them. So I'm glad to be here, and I love that we're starting with the synchronicity.
Synchronicity is amazing. I actually read a book by a guy you might be interested called Kirby Surprise. I recommend this book to
Yeah.
everybody. And the book's called Synchronicity. And he talks about SEs, which are synchronistic events, and how to create more of those into your life. So, more importantly, let's talk about you. Tell me what NLP is and what the core difference is between energetic NLP, which you are the founder and inventor of, and just traditional NLP that some people may or may not have heard of.
Well, traditional NLP, and like you said, it's neuro-linguistic programming, and everybody's heard of Tony Robbins, and he has his own rah-rah way that he does things. But the core of his ability to transform people's lives comes from his study of NLP. I think he started about a year before me. He's done a little better with the marketing, but we studied with a number of the same teachers, and even when he says things now, a lot of it, it's like, oh yeah, I remember when we both learned that way back when, because it's still really good. And NLP was started by people who were trying to figure out how to do rapid, deep personal change with people. Because back in those days, I remember talking to a psychologist, and she said, well, to make a deep change, I have to work with people at least 5 years minimum.
Wow.
And that was typical. In fact, there's the old Woody Allen movie, Annie Hall, I think it is. He goes, I've only been in therapy 12 years. and the people who started NLP went, but we know of therapists who get magical, deep, lifelong results with people very rapidly. So what are they doing differently? So they started studying them and videotaping them. And that was when a videotape machine was about the size of a small refrigerator. So it was a big deal. And they came up with this whole different approach to personal change. And what they really focused on was not what's happening out in the world, but what's happening in your inner world. And how is your inner world structured? Because the same event can happen. So I know men who go, well, I'm a terrible father because my father was a bad father. I didn't have a good role model. I know other men who go, I'm a great father because my father was a bad father. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to be like him. And that it's what we do inside that transforms our lives. And in NLP, you get to, people talk about like visualization. That's kindergarten stuff. There's something called submodalities in NLP where you learn how the secret coding system of your unconscious mind. And you can literally take a belief and turn it into a doubt. You can take a doubt, turn it into a belief. You can take grief, turn it into acceptance. You can do really magical things. And I've been an NLP trainer longer than you said, like been 40 years. I think I've been a trainer 39 years in NLP. Wow. I know I can't. I used to, when people go, I've been doing that for 26 years, and I go, wow. And I'm going, I've been doing it for 41 years. No. But what I realize is NLP, like anything, had its limitations. And I was also interested in, I should back up and say I was a medical researcher at the time. I managed a research lab for the University of California Medical School in San Francisco, which is one of the top health science research institutions in the world. And I mention that because people go, oh, energy work's not scientific. And I'll go, do you actually know anything about science? Because it is totally scientific. But I started studying energy work and intuition development and healing and psychic development. And I realized you could do magical things in those fields. You could do magical things with NLP. And when you put them together, it was like 1 + 1 = 10. So that was the birth of energetic NLP back in about 1984. And I've been developing it ever since.
So I've heard oftentimes the map is not the territory. Yes. What does that mean?
So it was Korzynski, I think I say his name correctly, was the one who originally said that. And the idea is that people start thinking their concepts of things are what reality is. But they're always, so like, if you look at a map of the world, all the sizes of the countries are wrong. Like, right. A country go, well, that one's really huge and it's not, or that one's not that big and it's huge, because a map has to distort reality. And it actually goes back to scientific theory. In true scientific philosophy, you don't have facts as much as you have theories. And you have theories, and then you use the theory till somebody comes up with a better one or disproves your theory. And so, in true science, you're supposed to always be open to the next step. In the same way that Einstein changed what Newton said. I mean, Newton was brilliant, and then Einstein, well, there's more. Other people going, well, there's more beyond Einstein. So we apply that to the way people think and behave. And most of people's problems come from how they're thinking about things, their map, not the reality. I've done decades of work in corporations, mainly like Fortune 100 companies, high-tech, pharma, financial. And when we would work with teams, we would meet with the team, everybody separately and then together. And the biggest problems on the team were always the meanings people were making of what happened. So if you were my boss and you said something to me, what you said didn't matter nearly as much as what I, in my map, in my brain, decided it meant. Like, you like me, you don't like me, you trust me, you don't trust me. And meanwhile, your map's completely different. So you might go, hey, Art, did you remember to do something? And I could be thinking, oh, well, that's really nice. He really cares. He's helping me. Or I could think, what, does he think I'm stupid? You know, that's, and
yeah.
it would be so much fun working with these teams because I'd know everybody's maps. And then when we get together, I remember one time, and we did a lot of training to get people where they could have a safe conversation. And this director said to one of his managers, well, the truth is, I think you're trying to sabotage me and you want my job. And the other guy looks shocked and goes, I feel really bad that you think that. He goes, I'm not ready for your job and I'm not trying to sabotage you. I just don't like you. and his boss goes,
That's awesome.
He goes, oh, is that it? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, oh, that's okay. I thought you were trying to sabotage me. And then a few years later, I ran into one of them and he's talking about the other guy. And no, this is about a year later. And he goes, well, it's not like we go out and have a beer together, but we get along fine now. We work great and we respect each other. Then I ran into him 5 years later and he's talking about the other guy like they're brothers. And I went, are you guys close friends now? And he looks at me like, of course. And he goes, oh, you wouldn't know that. He goes, yeah, we're actually good friends.
Wow.
But it was all about the map.
That's so interesting. So one of the things that you do when I know you go into companies and help them achieve multiples of what they're making by implementing your systems. I know you've been very successful at doing that and with individuals as well. Is the first thing you do is to learn what their map is of reality?
Yes, and when I'm working in a corporation, I don't mention the energy work because that's not why they're hiring me. And if it's a publicly traded company, like I'm working with a politician in another country, and we don't mention it because the press would go, weird California guru,
Putin doesn't like that stuff.
Right.
Oh, jeez, no, sorry.
But when I work with corporate groups, I'm also reading their energy, and so I am analyzing from an NLP viewpoint, but also I'm looking at their energy and I'm shifting their energies. And everything I do is permission based. You shouldn't do energy work to somebody if they don't want it, but it doesn't have to be conscious permission. And it's not an accident they end up with me. And but there's ways I communicate. What I believe is happening is my soul and their soul are chatting, and they tell me what's okay, and I respect their boundaries. And then what will happen is, after a few day meeting, or a 1 day meeting, people go, that was kind of magical. We thought that was going to be really hard.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, it was. But occasionally somebody will get me alone and they'll go, I know what you were doing. And somebody who's studied energy work, and they'll be able to observe what I'm doing on that level. So I'm working on the NLP level and on the spiritual energetic level, which is really fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun. So, okay. So as far as people's maps of reality go, I think that's really an interesting part of this because especially now with AI and ChatGPT and all these different tools that we use, a lot of the times I'll write out a message. So in the past, I send a message to somebody. Yeah. I think I'm saying one thing to Nathaniel, right? But Nathaniel's reading something completely different. Now, if he's got that context and we've got a connection and we're friends, he might understand me. But if we're not, what I've realized just using ChatGPT is that write a warm and friendly message to my friend. I'm not a warm and friendly guy, I've realized, because when the GPT spits it out, it's like a whole different thing. And I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted to say, not what I've been saying all these years. And it explains a lot. So you've been doing this for a lot of years, like analog.
Mhm.
Has that been a similar experience for you with people where they think they're communicating something, but really what's being communicated is something totally different, and you help them kind of tweak that and monitor it and get it right so that all their communications are flowing?
Yes, kind of. So if people realized how much they're not really communicating with one another, people would be appalled.
Mm,
And you like I say, you say something to somebody, and you think it's friendly. They may think you're being angry at them. So uh,
Hmm. I
in
get that all the
NLP,
time.
we call it like a behavioral equivalence.
mm,
So they're taking words and behaviors and making it mean something. So, like for some people, if somebody's not looking you in the eyes when they're talking to you, it means they don't like you, they're not interested. Well, some people think better when they're looking to the side. And if they're having a real intellectual conversation, they might be very interested in you, but they might be looking away.
mm.
But you're going like, huh, won't even look me in the eyes.
Like Elon Musk.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yes. Yeah, perfect example. And whether he cares about people, I'm not sure, but it's like Elon Musk. Um, but so people are constantly misunderstanding each other, and there's no getting it right. There is getting it better. And when I work with leaders, part of what I get them to do is have communication with people so they find out, like, it can be as simple as going, well, what do I do that helps you do your best? And what do I do? Not that it's right or wrong, but what do I do that doesn't help you be at your best? And then very often people have conversations and you'll find out, like I said, the whole micromanaging thing. So one person's micromanagement is another person's you love me and you care, because you're, you
Hmm.
know, but you don't know
Absolutely.
that until you talk to them.
Yep.
Now you can get better at reading their body language and all that, but the best thing is just kind of create an atmosphere where they feel safe enough to tell you what works and what doesn't, and in setting it up like not that it's right or wrong, but just um, so we would have teams of people do that, like discuss like, here's a great way to give me feedback. This way doesn't work too well. I don't know what you mean when you say this. Kind of thing. So it's about paying more attention and trying to get a sense of where it's landing, and the energy work can really help with that because I'll teach people how to read energy. When they can read energy, you can, like sometimes I'll be teaching a class, I'll be going on about something, and I'll just stop and I go, I can see you all got it. And and I'm getting like, quit talking, Art, they got it.
Yeah.
And other times, like, they're getting something, but it's not the energy I'm looking for. But you can do it also, again, nonverbals. Uh, the other thing is by observing how they communicate.
Mm,
And people are now, it started really with NLP, this whole mirroring, matching thing that people are familiar with now. And what we teach people is not the, well, I forgot what they called it, but for a while there was this whole thing that if you said, I want to go to the zoo, I was supposed to go, oh, so you want to go to the zoo? And you repeat everything back, which after about 3 times, no jury would convict you if you, if you throttled them. But we pick out like what are key words and phrases. So each one of you have words, like I use the word better all the time. So people who know that, if they want me to do something, go, yeah, that's fine, but it might be better. And I'm like, better?
ah,
Because you learn the words that have impact on them. And they use them, and those are the words they use. So a really NLP trained leader is picking up on that and using the words back with a person as much as they can. And not whole sentences, but like the words that really stand out.
mm.
And then again, for the people I train, they're also working with the person on an energetic level.
That's amazing. So, okay. So Nathaniel is in sales.
Mhm.
Nathaniel is a real estate agent.
Ah.
How would you coach someone like Nathaniel to develop these? Really, you're teaching people how to have a new superpower with what you're doing.
Yeah.
How would you coach or train Nathaniel or his team?
Well, I have trained sales teams, in fact, which is funny because I remember the first time I taught sales, I went like, I'm not one of those people who can go, my 30 years of doing 8 billion sales calls.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But what I would tell them, I go, is when I teach people these things, they do better at sales.
Hmm.
So I'm going to teach you things that you probably don't know.
Mm,
And for the great old experienced sales guy, talk to somebody else. So one of them is what I just said, noticing the words that they use. There's also 2 forms of motivation. either going towards what you want or away from what you don't want.
Yep.
And again, that I think NLP was the first one that talked about that, but it's out there now. And so if somebody's talking about what they, avoidance, and you just jump in and achievement, there's this disconnect. And they may like what you're saying, but it doesn't hit them in the heart.
Yeah.
So if you start by going, well, it'll avoid this, it'll avoid that, it'll avoid that, and then you switch to the achievement, then you have both. And there's a lot of language patterns people use, and you can start noticing, do they need to go big picture to detail? Do they need to go detail to big picture? Do they need to know where the conversation is going? So like some people are fine to let a conversation unfold. Other people, they need to know what's the point, and then they can listen. There's the physical matching. You're probably familiar with that.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. And
So Nathaniel's going to sell a house.
yeah.
He's in this guy sells 20, 30, $40 million houses in very high-end areas. So a prospect walks in. What would be some things that Nathaniel could do to help improve his chances?
Well, actually, I can tell you a story that I think will fit this. So a friend of mine who's an interior designer, he was doing this house in Malibu, really fantastic house on the beach. And I went by to see it one time, and the client was there. And I noticed the client, everything, my friend is talking about how everything's going to look. The client's talking about how everything's going to feel, how it's going to feel to be there. So later, I told my friend, you need to talk about more about how it's going to feel. And go like, it's going to look like this, and this is how it'll feel to be there. And he's going, oh, I don't think that's true. And I probably didn't give my advice very well. It was when I was new to NLP, and he was getting a little insulted. And then a couple weeks later, he calls me back, and he goes, we were down at the house at Malibu, and there was this fantastic sunset, and we're both looking at it. And I went, the sunset is so beautiful. And he goes, the air feels so good. And he went, click. So, in that case, it's, again, noticing how they talk, what's important to them. And some people will be all about how it looks. Other people, they want to know how it's going to feel to live there. So you connect things like you'll have an extra bedroom, which means you can have guests and think how comfortable everybody will be. Versus somebody else, you can have it, it'll look really good for your guests. Is that helpful at all?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you should listen to and figure out what their motivations are for wanting to be, in a space or sell a space or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And you start with the basics, like what are you looking for and what's important to you about that?
So
and they'll start telling you.
So would you say the best strategy to do that is to just ask and then listen to them, or do you think there's other strategies to kind of suss out what they're saying? Because sometimes people aren't direct with what their what their intentions are, like, or maybe they don't really know or they can't describe it. So is there techniques for that?
Yeah, like for instance, a lot of people go, well, this will impress the hell out of other people. A lot of people won't say that. One way to do it is you might ask them about if they have a nice car, like, oh, you want to get you to pick that particular car. What do you love about it? And then they're not as guarded.
Right.
There used to be this super duper calculator that HP made, before everybody had tablets and iPhones. And I remember asking this guy, he was a sales guy, and he was in one of my classes. And I was asking about what car he had and why he had that car. And then I went, so you have the HP da-da-da-da calculator, right? And he goes, of course.
Right.
So very often you can talk about something different or a place that they liked in the past.
So like kind of find a different thing that you can attune to or that you can connect on. So you build that relationship authentically, and then you can go back to the issue at hand, if you will. Is that right?
All of that, and you're finding out their criteria. Because when he went through his criteria for the car, I thought, and I knew he was a financial advisor, and I thought, oh, there's only one calculator this guy would have, because it was, had all the same. It was a good look. It was a great machine. It was, it was just everything was the same.
Oh, just to clarify, so the way you can suss out kind of the information from the way they're describing the other things, as to what's important to them. Like,
Mhm.
oh, driving the car feels really good versus it looks so good when I pull up, or, you know, it's impressive to people, or things like that. So you can take the items from the thing they like talking about and learn what you need to learn to apply that to the issue at hand. That's what you're saying?
Yes, some criteria is contextual, but
Mm-hmm.
a, a lot of it will run through themes in their life. So it'll
Right.
give you some really good clues. And again, they're safer about something else. And also, a lot of it is in your, talking about maps again, your
Mm-hmm.
mindset when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to a salesman and they're asking me questions, but I know they're trying to figure out what I want that they
Mhm.
can maybe provide, I'm really happy to answer the questions. And if I feel like they're trying to get an edge, um, so I think of it as a lot, and I think it's probably easy for you is just being sincerely interested in what do they want, what would make them really, really happy.
Yeah, and it sounds to me also like what Art is saying is that association plays a big factor in it.
Mm.
So if somebody's
Association,
walking
yeah.
into a house and you talk to them about what's the most beautiful house you've ever been in, what are some
Yeah.
of the things you loved, immediately mentally,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, from his standpoint of a neurolinguistics practitioner, that person doesn't just talk about those things. That person has to internalize and experience those states in those places,
Yeah.
and now they're in a separate place, which is your place that you want to sell them.
Mm-hmm.
And those feelings, Art has some very specific ways of anchoring those feelings to the current place where you're at to give it more weight.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in
Oh,
my assumption?
absolutely. Yeah.
So Art,
That's excellent.
people work with you. You teach them how to get these superpowers because it is so important, interpersonal
Mhm.
communication. I always say this often. The
Yeah.
hardest part of any business is humans.
Yep.
Humans are the
Yeah.
bottleneck, they're the problem. So mastery of human communication
Mhm.
and interpersonal interactions really is like a master key to money and wealth
Mhm.
and achievement. What can people expect from working with you? So if somebody were to hire you for their firm, I know you've
Mhm.
worked with publicly traded companies, you've worked with
Yeah.
world leaders. What are the results that people can expect?
So most of the time now, I'm working more with entrepreneurs, consultants, and people who want personal change, spiritual growth, or want to learn how to do what I do. Because it's magic, but anybody can do the magic. Um, so I'll give an example. A woman, one of my students, who's in my longer programs, she's a consultant in Silicon Valley, and people will tell her, they go, "We know when you're in the building," because she's working with the energy of the whole thing, and
Mm.
she shifts the energy. And they'll tell her, like, "We know when you're in the building or not." Um,
They
another,
just know. They know when she's in the
they
building.
can feel it, yeah,
Wow.
because
Okay.
the whole. I'm not saying everybody does, but there are people. But the fact that anybody can mention it means it's shifted. They can just feel the change.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons
Yeah.
that I've worked with some leaders when I teach them how to clear the energy of like well, I'll give you an example. I was working with GlaxoSmithKline, the pharmaceutical company, and they had done a big reorganization. And this, I think there were maybe about 160 people in this group, and some of them were probably going to have to move, and it was a whole big deal, and people were
Yeah.
upset. And we were having a really good meeting, and there were a number of us consultants there because sometimes we'd break into small groups. So you only have a couple of you in the front of the room at any one time. You don't want 8 consultants in the front. So I'm in the back with the woman who owned the consulting firm, and we'd been having a good meeting, but people were starting to get a little grumpy,
Mm.
and the mood was changing. So I go, Charlotte, how does it feel to you right now? And she goes, it's kind of heavy in the room. And I go, tell me how it feels in 5 minutes. And I did something that's really, really simple to do. I just cleared the energy in the room, and I brought in energies of collaboration and just energies that were very positive. And you don't force it on anybody. Yeah, that gets that's a really bad thing. You don't force energy on people, but you can make it available. In the same way, if you're going to throw a party, you set the environment so people can have fun. You don't force them to have fun. So I changed the energetic environment.
How? How'd you do it?
Yeah, I
Um,
want to know.
it's basically, it's really simple. I imagined a magnet outside the room. And well, let me back up. Energy follows your thought and intention. It's an old spiritual principle. And it sounds like it's too simple. Not. It is that simple. Um, so energy will follow your thoughts and intentions. So I imagine outside the room this giant magnet. And in my mind, I said hello to everybody's soul, spirits in the room, and kind of went, the energy in the room isn't serving any of us. And let's just imagine that magnet's pulling the energy out. And then I just imagine the energy's leaving. Then I ask that our spirits bring in whatever energies will help the meeting. And, the Charlotte comes back to me and goes, what did you do? I mean, it went right back to everybody being in a good mood and being collaborative. So and one of my clients is also, she's not a consultant, but works for a Silicon Valley company. And she chairs these meetings. And ironically, one time she was in a hurry to get this meeting done to fly down to take a workshop with me. So she didn't set the energy and do all that. And so it was the first time she'd met me that the meeting didn't go well. Because she always sets the energy. And again, you don't force anything on anybody.
Yeah.
That's any kind of being an autocrat's not good, even if you think I'm helping them.
Right. You never want to push too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have a right, particularly if they've hired me to be a consultant,
Right.
they want a good meeting.
Right.
So I have a right to get energies out of the room that aren't helping them, bring in energies that will help them if they want them. Now, I'm also doing, NLP things and language and all of that. But in this case, I wasn't even in the front of the room, and Charlotte was going pretty good.
Amazing.
So in that case, you changed you set the stage, you reset the stage for success.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then it's up to them.
Right.
But even when I work with a team of people who hate each other, deep down inside, they'd rather get along. And I tap into that because if they're not going to quit, if you and I work together and we hated each other, it's like, we don't want to hate each other.
Right.
I have to see you every day. Well, maybe not nowadays, but
Yeah. We have to interact every day somehow.
So I would hook into the part of them that would like it to work. And then I bring in energies to help that.
Life's too short. Life's just easier when things are harmonious. Nobody likes working with a-holes.
That's right.
And you're right. I'm taking away from your talk that really you can make the situation better and you can permanently make it better, not only by your mindset, but also by bringing in experts that know how to manage those kinds of situations. And I know that's what you do with your whole being, permission, and alignment. Art, if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to take your programs, tell us how people can engage with you and the work that you're doing with whole being, permission, and alignment and energetic NLP.
And I'll just briefly say, whole being permission, this is a unique concept to NLP. Sorry, to energetic NLP. And what I realized with working with people is people have a spirit, they've got a soul, they've got a conscious mind, they have a very complicated unconscious mind, they have a body, they have karma and what are called spiritual contracts, these agreements you made on a spirit level. And very often, all of those different, it's all part of you, but if they're not in alignment, things start to work, but they never do, or they start to work and they fall apart, or where they are aligned, your life goes incredibly well. So we do a lot of work in energetic NLP to get that aligned. And I do like to remind people I was a medical researcher. I like to say to people, I'm woo-woo without the woo-woo. And there is, by the way, tons of scientific research on energy work. But the best way to get to know my work is if they go to blockbuster3.com, blockbuster3.com, and then what they'll do, they sign up, they'll get a video a day for 4 days where I'll take them through some really powerful energetic NLP processes that are life-changing. They clear unconscious blocks, energetic blocks, karma, open up your mindset, allow you to reset a lot of your mindset. And the videos take people through it, and then they can use them whenever they want in the future. But they're also learning the techniques.
Blockbuster3.com.
Yeah. And then that way, they know the work and they'll know if they want to pursue it or find out more about it. they can also email me at art, at energeticnlp.com. So with an ick, energetic NLP for neurolinguistic programming.com. But the Blockbuster 7 is a great way to start, because then the video, they have me in the videos. I explain the concepts, and they'll know whether they want to go any further with it. And even if they don't, they'll already have improved their lives massively.
To blockbuster3.com. And
Yeah.
let's say someone's a massive real estate agent
Mhm.
handling hundreds of realtors, and they want to bring you in on a company level to do it, or someone's got a pharma company or a car dealership.
Yeah.
How do they hire you to do that?
Well, again, email me, and then what I would do is have a conversation and find out. Well, it goes back to the sales, like what does they want? What kind of results do they want? Find out if I'm a good fit for them. If not, I'd recommend somebody else. But you just have I start with a consultation that's free, and we'll find out if it's a good fit and what I can do for them.
Okay, so reach out to Art if you want to. I like the free part of it.
Yeah, the free, that's my favorite part.
Yes.
Yeah, of course it is.
Well,
And
I hope the consultation's a favorite part, but I do like free.
is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience, or anything else you feel we didn't go over?
Just to let people know that people have incredibly miraculous abilities, both from a NLP level to transform themselves. I mean, I see people with NLP all the time make incredible deep changes. And some of them, I've had people go, I've been in therapy for 5 years and we just did it in 2 days or 1 day.
Wow.
But also, if people are interested in energy work, there's this myth that only a few people are born with these special powers. It's a total myth. Everybody's born with amazing abilities to work with energy, to use transformative energies, like I talked about with a group or meeting with your family. It's one of those things. I know you're never supposed to say that, but you'll use it everywhere in your life once you know it, and everybody can do it. So I want to encourage anybody who's interested in energy work to pursue it, and pursue it with somebody who's really good, and such as myself, but somebody who's really good. And
why not the best?
the one thing to look out for is there's a lot of good teachers out there. And one thing that's really different about my work is a lot of good teachers out there, but they all think they know the truth. They all think they've walked down with the tablets from Mount Sinai.
Right.
And this is the way it is. And only thing is love. And you always have to have positive thoughts. And I know they mean well, but I think they're really far off. And when I teach, I make people take a pledge that they won't believe anything I tell them. And they look at me funny and I go, I'm serious. I want you to consider what I'm telling you. I want you to play with it. I want you to connect to your spirit and get your spiritual information, not believe what I'm telling you, because I'm constantly evolving my own beliefs. So I think that's one of the most unique things about energetic NLP is it's always about empowering the person to find all the spiritual information that's already in them that they just don't know how to tap into.
It's amazing. Well, Art, thank you so much for being on the show. Everybody, blockbuster3.com, and we'll put the email and the contact information to Art's Linktree in the notes below. I think I learned some stuff.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
All right. And make sure to look up the sponsor of the show today, which is Luminere Sleep Doctor Glasses, available at sleepdoctorglasses.com, as well as on Amazon. Make sure you look up Luminere Sleep Doctor Glasses. All right. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks.